Chapter 330, Sharron and Maric's Philosophy. Help. Klein repeated the word silently and was momentarily a little stumped. Back when Sharron had taken on the mission of protecting him for 3 days, it was mostly because of the money. For a Sequence 5 expert to be willing to take on such a mission was, in itself, a low probability. It could be chanced upon, but it wasn't something that could be forced. Furthermore, back then, Klein was desperately trying to save himself and was so frantic that he wasn't willing to give up any sliver of hope. As such, he still felt very grateful for being able to receive the help of such a powerful beyonder, even if it was because of the money. However, that was all. He wouldn't recklessly interfere in an unknown, dangerous situation in complete disregard of his own strength and circumstances for the sake of the other party. Klein's original plan was that the mysticism knowledge from Little Sun could basically be verified as belonging to the pre-cataclysm era. At that time, the ancient gods who wielded authority and the current 7 gods and evil gods didn't seem to have any overlap with each other, so it was possible that the 2 mysticism systems were definitely hugely different. So, even if he knew the details, he didn't dare to carelessly try it out. He had to receive indirect verification in order to know which ones could still be used, and which ones didn't have any effect. It was just like the sacrificial ritual from before. Klein had already figured out the procedure from the sun, but he waited for Mr. Azek's reply before he dared to conduct the experiment. It was to prevent anything unexpected from happening. As for the Hanged Man, he was at the rank of bishop or captain of the Church of Storms, so he definitely possessed quite a bit of mysticism knowledge as well. However, the problem was that this was too orthodox and too involved with the Lord of Storm's domain, thereby making it not necessarily suitable for Klein to use. Not all rituals could be performed by asking oneself for help, and he had to consider the spirituality burden he had to bear by praying to himself. With these factors in mind, Klein turned his attention to the former members of a secret organization, Sharron and Maric. The knowledge they possessed was more suitable for wild Beyonders to use as a reference. There were also quite a few unorthodox and strange ones that were effective. Of course, this wasn't to say that he would give up on exchanging information with the Sun and the Hanged Man. By having knowledge from ancient times, orthodox knowledge, and secret and unorthodox knowledge, it would result in him being more all-rounded, giving him a deeper understanding of mysticism. And that was exactly what Klein wanted. He had never forgotten that his ultimate goal was to return to Earth, so the more mysticism knowledge he had, the better. The more comprehensive, the better. The deeper the knowledge was, the better it was. Of course, the premise of pursuing this goal is to get rid of N.C. Zangwill and avenge myself and the captain. Klein looked at Sharron and Maric and said with the corners of his mouth curled up, "I need to know what kind of help you need from me before I can consider agreeing. I won't, nor is it possible for me to joke about my life." Sharron, who was wearing a small black hat, nodded slightly and acknowledged Klein's words. Maric, who was seated on the other side, leaned forward and put his fist to his mouth. "We originally belonged to a rather old and secretive organization." "That I can guess." Klein maintained a serious and stoic expression. That organization took shape at the beginning of the 5th epoch, after the storms of the Berserk Sea cut off the northern and southern continents, forming the southern continent's Highlands Kingdom and Paz Kingdom. However, I'm only talking about it taking shape. This organization's origins can be traced back to before the 4th epoch, all the way before the Cataclysm. The pale Maric continued describing. "That I know that too, the Rose School of Thought, isn't it? It's traceable back to the time of the Mutant King." Klein wore an attentive look. Maric scratched his slightly messy hair and said, "This organization believes in an evil god, and they believe that magic is a science and art that changes according to one's will to change things. This requires the establishment of a religious ritual system, including law and order. Yes, before the invasion of the northern continent, they were an orthodox organization in the Paz Valley and the Star Highlands, alongside the Church of the God of Death. At the same time, they believed that their wills originated from various desires. Combined with beyonder powers, they were able to accomplish all sorts of unimaginable things. Because of these ideas, they retained an ancient and bloody tradition of primitive sacrifice, including the skinning of people, and using the skulls of children as ritual objects, letting a large number of believers fervently release all sorts of desires. We couldn't accept the cruelty of such deeds, and we also felt that it was very problematic in the way that they handle their desires, so we looked for an opportunity to escape from that organization. Problematic in the way they handle their desires. Klein knew that the Rose School of Thought was famous for its bloody sacrifices, so he wasn't very curious about the former. The blonde and black-dressed Sharron replied in an ethereal voice, "The way they do it is to indulge and burn. Our philosophy is to repress and show temperance. So that's how it is." Klein suddenly thought of the description of the prisoner sequence. The body was the cage of the heart, and the world was the cage of the body. Madness was bound, and desire was suppressed. If the Rose School of Thought did grasp the mutant pathway of prisoner, Miss Sharron's and Maric's philosophy is clearly more suited to the needs of the acting method. Why couldn't the other members notice this? That's not right. He frowned slightly. Seeing his reaction, Maric thought he didn't understand and explained in a slightly hoarse voice. They were influenced by that evil god, and they believed that indulging in their desires would help to strengthen their own willpower. When many people let their hair loose, they would also affect each other, adding to their fanaticism, allowing their condition to reach its peak. Our views are the exact opposite. We believe that desire must always be suppressed in one's heart, just like the flames and magma underground. Only at a crucial moment can it be unleashed, producing terrifying power. Simply put, it's the difference between lust and abstinence. The influence that the evil god has is in contradiction to his own pathway's requirements. It feels like something is amiss. Klein thoughtfully asked, "So you escaped to Backland, and now they're coming after you? Did the dead man in the alley end up involved in this?" "We didn't get him involved. He got himself involved because of something else." Maric rebutted Klein's second guess, acquiescing to Klein's first question. "Then why don't you just run away from Backland? There are quite a few big cities along the border of the Lone Kingdom and Daisy Bay. Furthermore, you can go to Intis, Fasak, Fainapotter, Lenberg, Masson, and other countries. In other words, you have a reason not to leave Backland. What could it be?" Klein thought for a moment and said, "Okay, I've got the general gist of it. What kind of help do you need?" "My sequence isn't high, and I don't know any powerful Beyonders. There's no way I can go against that secret organization directly." After obtaining the potion formulas for sequence 7, 6, and 5 of the Seer Pathway and killing Lanevis, Klein actually didn't have to stay in Backland. There was still a huge gap between him and his next target of vengeance, in C. Zangwill, who had sealed Artifact 008. There was no hope of success within a short period of time. He didn't even dare to approach it, so it wasn't impossible to leave Backland. At the very most, he would feel the pinch for wasting the rental fee that he had paid up front. The reason why Klein was still staying in this large city was because there were a lot of Beyonders here. There were also many resources and ingredients that appeared here. It made it one of the most convenient places to advance his sequence. It suited the revelation of his divination back then. "When I become a faceless and am almost done digesting it, I'll have to head out to sea and look for a mermaid." This thought suddenly flashed through Klein's mind. Sharron replied calmly, "Be our support. To kill a sequence 5 Beyonder together." Klein was slightly surprised as he asked, "With your strength, that organization only sent one sequence 5 Beyonder to hunt you down. Could it be that the common characteristic of a cult was to be brainless?" "He has a sealed artifact that greatly restrains me," Sharron answered calmly, her face pale but her expression delicate. "The person in charge of this matter is indeed a high-sequence Beyonder. But he has been led elsewhere by the clues that we deliberately left behind," Maric added. "It's not like we only have Backland as our only base. If we can kill the person in charge of the nearby boroughs and take away that sealed artifact, we will immediately disguise ourselves and flee. After that, we will no longer be afraid of being hunted down normally." Klein tersely acknowledged, "But why do you think I can help? I look so weak. And the target is a sequence 5 Beyonder with power, and that strange sealed artifact. You're not just at sequence 9, you're also very special." Sharron looked at him silently with her blue eyes and said with certainty, Haha, Klein could only reply with a dry laugh. Sharron's ethereal voice sounded once again. Besides, you still have that eye. That eye? Are you referring to the all-black eye left behind by Mariontis Tresego? Klein nodded slightly. But I can only use a small portion of it, and it can't produce too much of an effect since it was corrupted by the true creator. That's enough. Sharron was always so terse with her words. Maric added, the sequence 5B yonder we are dealing with has similar characteristics as Sharron. Only that eye of yours can help us find him. At that moment, Sharron spoke again. Maric will be the first bait. I'll be the second. As for you, you are the hunter responsible for solving the problem. I can't guarantee absolute safety. But you will definitely be safer than us. Sounds sincere enough, but I'll need to make sure through divination. Klein pondered for a few seconds and said, I want to understand the situation about the other person's characteristics and sealed artifact. Only then can I make a decision.